tackle housing affordability?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Minister didn't answer my question about the Carleton mushroom farms, which faces a $400,000 carbon tax bill when the Prime Minister is done quadrupling the tax. When we spoke about this on November the 29th, he said that he looks forward to hearing the sustainable practices that the farm has put in place. Well, I can tell him I helped the farm actually get natural gas to its in order to power some of its operations, which is a lower emitting form of energy. But they're still going to face a massive tax increase. How will the Prime Minister advise the farm to pay it? By raising prices on Canadians or shutting down production and bringing in more foreign food?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, for farms across this country that are shifting towards natural gas and lower emitting ways of heating and using their various machinery, that is something that we have put in place significant programs to help them with, and that is something we are going to continue to do because it's part of our plan to both fight climate change and build a net zero economy of the future. We have a plan, Mr. Speaker. The Conservative Party of Canada has no plan to fight climate change. Indeed, they think we should be backing off on all the things we're doing and instead of continuing to fight climate change and grow a strong economy.
That's right.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, the Prime Minister is backing off the things he's doing. Ironically, he's the one that brought in a temporary pause because his caucus was revolting regarding home heating oil. But my question was about the Medeiros Carleton mushroom farm. He claims that he's got government programs to help farmers use more natural gas at the same time as he's quadrupling the tax on natural gas, which perhaps is the reason why Canada ranks 58th out of 64 when it comes to climate index performance. Mr. Speaker, he doesn't have a climate plan, he has a tax plan, so how will he advise the Medeiros farm to pay the $400,000 bill he's sending them?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we recognize that climate change is a reality. We recognize that we need to help families and businesses across this country reduce their emissions and continue to prosper and grow in a world where the cost of inaction on climate change is increasing exponentially. That is why we have put in place programs to support farms, programs to support Canadians, indeed, to get off home heating oil, for example, and transform into heat pumps. These are things that we are doing as part of our plan. The Conservatives have no plan.
That's right.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Our plan is to bring home production back to Canadian farms, Mr. Speaker. His plan raises a carbon tax on a greenhouse in my riding, which meant that their produce is more expensive in the village of Manotick than a Mexican tomato is in the village of Manotick, sending a price signal for consumers to buy the tomato that had to be transported by truck and train, burning fossil fuels right across the continent. Why doesn't he axe the tax so that we can bring down the cost of farm production and bring home more clean, green Canadian produce?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the price on pollution is simple. Activities that cause pollution cost a bit more, but most Canadians get more money back than what they pay, with checks being sent to Canadians every few months. Big industry pays more than the regular Canadian because industry pollutes more, and as a result, they have an incentive to reduce their pollution. The ideologically driven MAGA Conservatives are calling for pollution to be free again, and for the government to take those regular checks to Canadians away from them.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Everything you just said is factually wrong. One, industry doesn't pay the carbon tax. They have a carbon tax carve-out. And as for him claiming that people get more back in rebates, the Carleton mushroom farms will pay $100,000 this year, rising to $400,000 over the carbon tax increase the Prime Minister proposes. And he's sending them tiny rebate checks to their household mailbox. Is he committing today that he's going to send a $400,000 rebate to this family farm?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are there to support families, but multi-million-dollar farms that are successful will be continued to encourage to look for ways to use their machinery and to heat their produce in ways that is lower emitting. That's what fighting climate change is all about. It's encouraging successful farms like the Medeiros family farm to continue to be successful, but to do so in ways that reduce their emissions. We know it cannot ever be free to pollute again, despite what the Conservative Party wants.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Ironically, it is free for Mexican producers to, almost free, they have a tiny, tiny little carbon tax, not even comparable to the $400,000 tax bill that this Prime Minister is proposing. So what is he's saying is that there should be a price signal for Canadians to buy more expensive, polluting foreign food, while we, with the 5th biggest supply of arable land on planet Earth, shut our farmers down. How does that make any sense?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
More than just anyone else in this country, farmers understand how important it is to protect the land for future generations, to pass on the bounty to their children and grandchildren of a great, important job that feeds the rest of us. That is why farmers are so focused on the future, and that is why we are there to support them with a plan and investments that helps them reduce their emissions while they continue to put food on all our tables. We have a plan for that. The Conservative Party refuses to even admit that there needs to be work done to reduce emissions. That is not the way to build a future. Not in Carleton, not anywhere.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister claims that, actually he stated correctly, that farmers are working hard to protect the environment, which is why it's so strange that he wants to punish them with a tax that on one farm alone costs $100,000, that will rise to $400,000 for the crime of using the only source of energy that is available to that farm. So I'll ask the same question I've asked him now about half a dozen times. When he finally gets around to talking to Carleton mushroom farms, how will he advise them to pay their forthcoming $400,000 carbon tax bill? By raising prices on Canadians or by cutting back and bringing in more dirty foreign food?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, 97% of farm fuel emissions are exempt from the price on pollution. The average farm across this country pays a little less than $1,000 on natural gas emissions through the price on pollution. So one can only imagine how much natural gas this successful mushroom farm must be using for their cost of the price on pollution to be that large. And we will happily work with them to switch towards a lower emitting approach to doing their business well and protecting future generations.